hit like and subscribe. You're watching the Marc Lamont Hill official YouTube channel.
Good morning. Good morning. It's your girl. It's April R. Silver. You are watching Ascending.
It's
Thank
your
you.
girl. It's April R. Silver.
We have
You are
some.
watching Ascending. It's
I
your
don't
girl.
know
It's
why we
April.
have feedback. Okay, I heard a little bit of feedback, but I think it's gone. I have become the master of like sailing through glitches. So I'm patting myself on the back right now, but I think we're good. So welcome everybody. It's your girl April R. Silver. You are watching Ascending. If you're live with us, then that means it's Saturday at 11 or 11:03. I'm so happy, and with my full heart, I welcome you to come back to the coming back to the show. We have a really amazing show. We have actually two guests back to back, right? So we're going to do all of our regular things. I'm going to give you a moment to tell your people to come on live. Again, thank you so much for joining. I will tell you now who we have coming up in just a moment is L. Joy Williams. She is a good friend. We've known each other for a long time. We're going to have to figure that out when we bring her on. It's been a minute that we've known each other and worked together. She is a political strategist. She is a social justice advocate. She's doing big things in the world. And some of you all know one of the latest big things. We're going to talk about that as well. But L. Joy Williams will be joining us in just a moment. So we'll talk about that. And that topic that we'll be discussing is the importance and the power and the victories that come with being civically engaged and informed and active and empowered. Like there's power in that. And as I said to a couple of people, now is not the time to be apathetic or to check out. And so L. Joy Williams is going to talk about that history, that power, and that victory, and how that's manifesting in her career at this moment in time with this great news that she'll be sharing. After that, we're also going to have Dr. SEGUN SHABAKA. Some of us know him simply as Brother Segun. He is the board chair of the International African Arts Festival, so he's going to be toward the latter part of the show. But there's some an announcement. It's not being announced here first, but it's an announcement nonetheless about the International African Arts Festival. Many of you know that as the festival. Some of you, if you were around for the past 54 years, you know it as originally as African Street Carnival, and then it was African Street Festival, and then it turned into the International African Arts Festival. 54 years is nothing to play with. So we're going to have the board chair of that institution in Brooklyn to come and talk about some good news. So those are the two things we got going on. So continue to bring in your people. Tell everybody to watch, hopefully on YouTube. That's a favor to us. So shout out to Marc and Princess and to my team as well. I want to um, do the book thing. Remember, I don't have a name for it, but I'm a reader, I'm a writer, I'm an editor. So I love books, and there's going to be a tie-in to all of this that I'm about to show you. This book, I'm about to show my age, right? Because this book is from 1993. It's at my home in Georgia. So I can you yeah, oh, that's a good one. So this is the Dictionary of Cultural Literacy, right? Came out, and one of the editions was 1993. When this book first came out, the way this is 1993, this is before Google and all of those things, and the way I geeked out that there was a book that could answer all of your questions from idioms to history, anything that would make one cultural literate. And this is specifically for um, people here in the United States, you know, the sayings and all those different kinds of things. I just geeked out, and I think I bought a book for everybody. I didn't know that someone knew the importance of gathering the history behind certain phrases like look a gift horse in the mouth. Y'all know I'm a language geek, right? So the reason I reference that book as the one as the point of reference for this episode is because literacy is really important. Cultural literacy, yes, but also being politically literate. And as we go into the conversation with El Joy, what it means to be civically minded, right? So that was my little tie-in. I just wanted to show my age more so than anything else, and to let you know how much I geek out on stuff. But I bought a book for my mother, my brother, everybody, because I was like, all the answers to the questions and the history behind certain sayings and all those things were in this dictionary of cultural literacy. But now in 2025, we have Google. And some people will remind me that we have AI as well. So to what extent that works. But anyway, that's my segment on that. Continue to tell your people to come in. You're watching Ascending with your girl. We're live every Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern. I want to give a special shout out, if I may, and I'm going to take some personal privilege here. If you watched this show last week, I was in a different setting. I was in a hotel room because I was in Suffolk, Virginia, right? Shout out to Derek Silver, my cousin on my father's side, who turned 60 and wanted to bring everybody together. This had been months in the making. So I was in Suffolk, Virginia, the birthplace of my father, who is still with us, thank God. Prayers are welcome. But I went there. I didn't even tell a whole bunch of people that I was coming for that event. I went there to see my cousin Derek for his 60th birthday. I'll put the pictures up soon on social media, but also to see my sister Lex and her new baby, my nephew. So a whole bunch of things. The reason I'm shouting out the Silver family in particular, because that experience was it was the grandest manifestation of pure family love. I didn't even know that I needed it that much, but just coming together and the pure joy of us seeing each other. And here's the thing: we gathered and we saw each other and we loved on each other. And then Derek, of course, but it wasn't because of a funeral, right? That's the thing that all of us kind of marveled at. Like, there are hundreds of descendants of Maddie Mabry. Shout out to Maddie Mabry, my great grandmother, who is no longer with us. But the descendants of Maddie Mabry, there are hundreds of us. Most of us are on along the eastern seaboard. The power of connecting with family, where there's no pretense, it's all love. Whether you know how you're related to that fourth or fifth cousin or not, it was a phenomenon for so many of us. And I needed to shout that out. One, because I can, personal privilege, but also just if there's an opportunity, anybody that's watching, that's contemplating the importance of family, or wavering on reconnecting with the loved one, it is a pure form of unfiltered love that is hard to describe, and it's medicine. Not every family situation. I'm old enough to know and wise enough to know that that doesn't apply in every situation. But there might be opportunities for that love to blossom, and it might be in your hand or heart. And I would just encourage, if you're thinking about it or there's a need for reconciliation or whatever, try that, right? It's worth the journey. It's worth the sacrifice. So I wanted to shout out to all of my cousins, my uncles, and my aunts. The level of information that I found about um, our ancestors, my grandfather, his mother. There's a deep, yeah, I won't go into it, but I just wanted to share my love and my excitement, because it was pure medicine. And the any opportunity we get to speak joy in these chaotic times, this fuckery that's going on, as I like to say, I'm going to speak joy, and I'm going to encourage those whoever needed to hear this message, take it to heart, work with it, play with it, but don't abandon the pain that might exist in your heart to reconnect with family. So, family, I'm gonna shift gears on that note, but I just needed to say that. So let's get into ascending. Speaking of family, not by blood, but in love, I want to bring on my friend L. Joy Williams, who is, like I said, a political strategist, social justice advocate. She is the host of Sunday Civics on SiriusXM Urban View. She is our civics teacher. And I'm going to save the other part for this new position she has. She was the former president of the NAACP, the Brooklyn branch. So on that note, if we could bring to the stage El Joy, because we're about to go in.
All
hey,
right. What
how are you?
Good morning. Happy Saturday.
Happy Saturday to you too. You're looking great as always.
Thank you. I love this connection because, first of all, you talk about speaking joy, and here I appear bringing joy to your Saturday. Hello, everybody watching in the comments. Also, you talking about family today. So, like, literally, this conversation is the only external thing I'm doing today because, as the older cousin who basically started this family, okay, I have to remind my younger cousins often. All right, I'm the first granddaughter, the first, I'm, the first.
You're all the things. You're all the things.
Okay. All right. I'm hosting Cousins Hangout today. And so you're
stop.
the only external thing that I'm doing today because right now on my smoker on my porch, because it's going to be like 75 degrees in Brooklyn today, I got 2 slab of ribs on the smoker already. The salmon is already doing the potatoes ready for the potato salad. I'm hosting all of my cousins and we're coming together because, April 1st, would have been our grandmother's birthday, who I'm named after. Her name was Joyce, Dr. Joyce DaCosta. That's, where I get joy from.
Yes.
And it has been 20 years since she passed.
Okay.
And so instead of, like mourning the death and sort of being whatever, it was like, let's all of the, kids of her kids, let's hang out, and, be in community together. Now, of course, the boys did not, we done set this date 3 months ago. And now
they're like, when is it?
Oh, that's this weekend.
Oh my God. I'm so sorry that I can relate to that.
I don't care if you for the continent, the Caribbean, America, South America, everybody the same. So you needed us to organize and constantly remind you that we were saying.
I'm so sorry that I can relate to that. I'm so sorry.
Thank you.
Wait, but what about the synergy here? Like, who knew? I didn't even know that I was going to shout out my family until I was in the shower this morning. Like, how am I starting? And then here you go. On this day, you're having that event. Man,
on this day, soon as I'm sure they may be walking in while we're talking, and then I go upstairs and everybody like, hey, so it's
so you know what? You got to tell them to come back and watch this episode. So shout them out if that's going to be the bait to get them to watch.
Yes. Shout out to, my cousin. See, I can't. And then you also have the things is you have the names that you call them. And then you have the public names. I have a public name and I have a family name, right?
Uh-huh. Wait, hold, pause. Wait. We want to hear what your family.
No, you can't. No. It's too many people. Like, question. Too many people. Too many people. Say? We're gonna keep that in the
family. Okay. But I'm gonna say, I think you once told me what the L stands for. Mm-hmm. I'm not gonna say it. That's not mine to say. But that's how far we go back.
Right. Because, and let me say why. So while I don't tell people what it is publicly, I tell them why. So it's not because I'm ashamed of the name or anything. Okay. I was born in the 70s and it starts with a la. So you can come up with your own version of that, right? Like where Black people were as the reason, like you born in the 70s. Okay. The variation of what the name is. Okay.
Yes.
But the reason why I did it is because, 2 reasons. There's one that people would fake like they couldn't pronounce it. Right. Okay. Like people out, and play with it and things or whatever. And it would piss me off because I'm like, you can pronounce some other kind of crazy Russian, all these other kind of different names or whatever. Why are you acting like you can't pronounce this right? So then it would piss me off. So I was like, you don't even get to know it. So that's why I was like, I'll stop using it. So then I would only use Joy, right? Because that's also what family also calls me,
yes.
Everything. So it was like just Joy. But then when I started my career in politics and organizing government, and I met Black elders who they had an initial and then the middle name that everybody called them and their last name. C. Virginia Fields. H.
Yes.
Carl McCall. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna do that. Right. So it was in
homage to the elders,
homage to these Black leaders who I was in awe of and working with and all that kind of stuff. Is like, oh, instead of Joy, I'll be interesting and I'll be like them, and sort of join that H. Carl McCall, C. Virginia Fields kind of thing. And it's so funny because when I had C. Virginia on Sunday Civics, I told her that story, that her and Carl McCall were the reasons, that I added the L to make it more interesting. And she was like, I never knew that. That's amazing. So it was great to in real time, while she's living, like not at her homegoing service, but to tell her specifically, how she inspired me in that way.
I love that. I love that story. I love the personal touch, right? I love that we can laugh and giggle and talk about our families and the men who need remindings, even though you told them 3 months ago. I'm so sorry that I can relate to that.
We need brothers to do better and stop relying on your sister, your auntie, and your older cousin to tell you when. You probably also texting and asking what color y'all wear. I know.
But wait, let me get even deeper before we get into the civics part, just because I'm gonna be transparent. There was a time, I'm 56. I'm the proudest 56-year-old that you know, right? Soon to be 57. There was a time in my life where, real talk, I wanted to be needed. I wanted to be the one that had the information. I wanted to be the go-to person, right? So the natural instinct of me to be organized and to have data and to collect, like I was that way naturally, and then I pronounced it. Oh, you need so-and-so's number. I got that. Whatever. So I helped create. This was more than 20 years ago. I'm not that person right now. At least I don't think I am. But I wanted to be that person. That was the way that I saw myself as creating value in my community, that I wanted to be needed, because that meant that I was effective and people liked me because I'm not funny, can't sing or dance. So my gift was to be organized, to be the vessel, the clearinghouse for information. Yes, April has it. That's why my bag is always like, I'm thinking of Bag Lady, Erykah Badu song. I promise you right now, there's a mint in my purse. I promise you.
Okay.
And
there's a reason why we've done that. And that is because if you go back to being a child, go back to being, your younger self and observing the dynamics in your family and in community. And that person was always visible. That person was always loved. That person was, always gave the best, right? Like, so you were emulating who you wanted to be, because there was an example in your community and in your family that person was loved and centered.
Yes.
And you wanted to identify. So, I used to wear a friend of mine, Elon James White. He said to me that I made a comment on Facebook or something about, am I becoming a big mama because, of some of the things I'm fostering kids. I got kids in my house all the time, whatever. And he was like, are you becoming a big? He was like, you long past becoming. He was like, you are big mama in training like this. And I was like, wow, we know the person in our family, and there are movies, right, and everything or whatever that sort of portray big mama of a house or big auntie or whatever once they're there already. But there's nothing that details the evolution and the journey of becoming that person. And I was like, ooh, that's a good, that's a good story to tell, right? But that's what it is.
I do believe you. I accept that. I believe it. I hadn't thought of it that way. I accept it. I would also enter, Joy, that's the light, positive side of it. The dark side of that is insecurity. The dark side of that is I'm going to use my skill, my ability, and the fact that you're not organized and I am, I'm going to use that as a way to make you like me. That's the ugly side. I would say,
Different
and-
person.
but- say it again.
I think that's a different person. I don't think.
Hmm.
I think the need to do that, and again, this is your journey, and sort of your may feel differently. There's a different person. There is that busybody auntie. There is that extra cousin that's just like, she always extra. She always got to be in the mix of things and always got to act like she know everything, and like that's not the same.
But could it be the same coin, two different sides, as they say, two sides of a different? I'm only saying that, like, if I look at the universe and know that there's balance in everything,
Yeah.
and at the very least, can we look at the possibility that I'm that auntie, right? That is always available and is based out of pure love. There might be some value in just double checking to see if there's any sliver of insecurity in that. You might do that interrogation emotionally and be like, yeah, that's not me, for real, that's just not me, right? But at least we've been honest and vulnerable enough to be like, let me just check. So that you see where I'm headed. So
yeah. I thought you were going to talk about the downside being that you give so much and you give so, to others and outside that you don't take care of yourself. See,
well,
I thought
that too.
Yeah.
That too. I'm going to put you on solo layout for a second, only because I just got this thing where my camera was like, oh, you need some power. So you hear that noise, y'all. I'm sorry.
Now we got to hook you up and get you an Elgato face cam, and you don't have to deal with none of that. Where you don't need no power. You can just be powered.
So this is a perfect segue. We could come back on face to face, Aaron, but this is a perfect segue about your work at Sunday Civics, right? So I got to give a shout out to you because we had an amazing run. You and I, at your invitation, I had a segment on your show, which is Sunday Civics on SiriusXM Urban View, channel 126.
Yes.
And so you gave me an opportunity to do an arts and activism segment on your weekly show. Yeah. And that was for like 5 weeks. I was nervous as hell. I was like, oh my gosh, Joy thinks that I can do this. Okay. I know plenty of people. I know I could get guests, but can I do this? So it was an amazing experience. That was like, what, September, October 2024?
Yes. And it seems like so forever ago because so much has happened since then. That's turned my life upside down. But, I knew that you could, and it wasn't just about you knowing people, right? It was also your voice and your perspective, which is different because quite often people platform people that are just the same as them, right? Or the people are giving the same viewpoint, they're looking at something the same way, straight on, dead on. And what I knew from conversations we've had, other things that we've done over the years, is that while we may have similar values and similar things, that you look at things in a different way. And as someone who is encouraging people to have constructive thought, to have a thought process in general, to analyze things in a different way that is being presented to them, particularly because we have so much content and media being streamed and thrown at us on a regular basis, is that I think it's important to have different people with different viewpoints, different values, different state of looking at problems and issues to rebuild that muscle, that analytic, that constructive thought process back in us collectively, right? Because right now we're just consumers of content.
Yes,
and
that part.
What we need to bring back into our consciousness is how do we not only be consumed by the content that we are watching, hearing, but also how do we take apart and analyze what's been presented, take the things that are healthy and throw away the things that are not needed or wrong or, propaganda or things of that nature. We don't, I'm saying we collectively, right? We don't know how to do that anymore. We are just consumers of content.
Yeah.
And even, last night, we're upstairs and, milling about in the kitchen, which is like the center of our house. And our 16-year-old says to us, Chipotle is going bankrupt. And so my husband and I were like, what? Now we know what the story is. We know what the content is, but now we're asking her. We're like, what do you mean it's going bankrupt? And, what are they closing stores? Like, what does it mean to go bankrupt or whatever? She's like, I don't know. I just saw it on TikTok. And we're like, no, when you see something or when something is presented and you think you want to repeat it, like you need to fact check it. What does it mean? Yes. And then if you're telling me it, that means also that you should know more about it because, okay, what if I didn't know? How are you educating me about that information? And she was like, oh, this is not a class. And I'm like, no, but you told me something. You said Chipotle is going bankrupt. And then I ask you, oh, what does that mean? You then can't describe it to me. You then can't tell me what that means. You then can't tell me what the fallout is from that. I was like, we like Chipotle. So what does that mean for us? And she's like, I don't know. And I was like, so then why did you tell me the information? Right? Because you I'm asking you follow-up questions. You don't know, but you just randomly said Chipotle going bankrupt. Right?
I love
how it
how
has to be a class. Everything has to be. And I'm like,
but
you
yes,
it.
You brought it up. But it's a perfect segue from your kitchen, right? With your child, your kitchen, and the lesson that you and your husband were conveying to the broader community. I love that. I love that road, that journey, that opening that you just gave us, because this is why I think you are so incredibly brilliant. You in the political realm know, you see the ignorance, and that's not me on a high horse, but straight up, there's ignorance in our community about politics, about what it means to be civically engaged, about our history, and some of that, to your point, is because of the way that we consume media. Mm-hmm. You who have been doing this work for so long in a variety of different expressions, what, 4 or 5 years ago, whatever, when you said, I'm gonna create a show. I'm gonna be the community civics teacher, because civics is no longer taught in the classroom and as a public education, opportunity. So you created that, right? Like I said to you before, I don't think I ever had a civics class. I'm born in 68, right? But I don't think we ever had a civics class when I was going to elementary school here in New York. Not here in New York, but in New York and then Los Angeles. But I knew that they existed. Okay. And then they didn't for the classroom. And it shows. All we had, and I know you've referenced this before, I'm going to turn it over to you. All we had was Schoolhouse Rock. On Saturday morning, the cartoons that taught us what a bill was and the different branches of government. And everybody to this day, still, if you are of a certain generation, you know that cartoon. Yep. And it taught you more than what you got in the classroom. So tell us, Eljoy, please, the value and the importance of Sunday Civics, which is your show where you actually break stuff down. I want to know some of the victories of you hosting that show and like why it's important. So beyond the Chipotle story.
Well, look, so let me tell you why I started the show is because I was working in government and politics and community organizing, which I have, for, that I've always done it, right? I was just recently where I went to college and someone mentioned, they were like, I remember you at the Yes We Can Center when you used to do, Black History summer camp and the thing. And I was like, yeah, I did do that. When I was like, some Black couple let me run a summer youth program while I was a student in college. Like, I was paying people and doing the curriculum and the activities and stuff. Why did they do that? Why did they let a 19-year-old run a whole summer camp? I don't know. I don't know why they did it, but I did. But so I've been doing this for a long time. And one of the things, particularly when I got into government, I was working at City Hall, working in the comptroller's office in New York City, working on campaigns, all that kind of stuff. And I realized that I was always doing the meeting before the meeting with the community, giving them, okay, when you go in here, I know you're going to ask for this. This is where the pot of money comes from. This is what they have the power to do. You know, it was that. Right. And the elected officials, a number of them from our community who I worked with, that was the standard. Right. Is like, yeah, we have our political club on the side where we tell people, like, this is what to ask for, this, whatever. Even though I'm the elected official, this is how you back me up to go in and fight for things we need. Right. There were always those meetings happening to prepare you to engage with power, with political power in different ways. And I was like, there needs to be, besides just the political clubs, to get more people to come in, because people were despondent about participating in politics or civic life in general, partly because they didn't see where the handle was on the door. They didn't have the knowledge.
That's nice. That's a good one.
They didn't have the knowledge of who to ask, where, you know, how much can I ask for? You know, people come in and ask for $5,000 out of the city budget. The city budget is the fourth largest budget in the country, from like U.S. budget
in New York City.
Right. U.S. budget. And then they'd be like, oh, can we have $5,000? I'm like, if you don't add some zeros to that ask, because it's a rounding error, like what you asking for. And so I was like, I need a medium to be able to get more people, not just people that are connected to a club or connected to a person. Right. And it was also at the same time that podcasting was still an indie thing. It wasn't something that now everybody and their mama got a podcast. And if you ask me, too many people got access to microphones. But back then it was, you know, a smaller thing. And I was like, I'm going to do it through this way, because then the access is free. There's no paywall of you know, trying to listen to me, listen to the information or anything like that. And so that was really the reason, is to put a handle on the door to political power. And that was because also everybody would always use the phrase, we need civics back in schools, right? But I'm like, okay, there's grown ass people that don't know how to access and how to engage.
Before the schools and the senior centers.
Like, okay, I'll let the teachers and the educators and all of those folks or whatever deal with the school, like what's missing in schools. I'm going to deal with the people that are out here voting already, that are out here who have the ability to have voices or whatever, and give them the tools and the resources to engage. And the thing about civics and school piece that you bring up is that it wasn't like there was a specific decision made, okay, we're, you know, civics and schools are done, right? It was over time, it was deprioritized, it was defunded and de-emphasized. And this is particularly for schools that were under-resourced. And what happened is we were born around the time, towards the end of the time, when there were civic classes, where there was civics and U.S. government and economic classes, like all of those kinds of things. We were born at the tail end of that, like the golden era.
And when you say born in, you're talking about late 60s, 70s, yes?
Yes. I'm talking like, so, you know, our folks who were in junior high, elementary, and high school in the 50s and 60s, they got it. That's why your parents can say, I remember this, or things or whatever like that, right?
Yes.
And that was because there was a push in the Cold War era for promoting democracy and American way of life. Like, it was all part of the propaganda, if you will, of like knowing how the U.S. system system works because the US is best
Yes.
and like all that. So that was all connected to that, right? Then when you get to when we are in school, right, in the 70s all the way to like the 80s, early 90s, what is also changing? There is a financial crunch. There are changes in like school budgets, right? Because budgets are being cut, curriculums are being changed and things like that. We also have, that's when we began, our generation begins the standardized testing thing, you know, and all that kind of stuff. And then what is being prioritized for us in testing later becomes math and sciences and things like that. So then schools are like, okay, well, we got to get rid of something because we don't have enough time to teach all of these things.
Right.
And we need to teach the things that they're going to be tested on, which is on the math and reading and, you know, like, and all that kind of stuff. And then No Child Left Behind and stuff comes in the early aughts. And then it's like really not being taught because it ain't on the test. We ain't teaching it.
Right.
Because we ain't getting no money for that. Right. And so that's where we end up. So it was like a evolution of like deprioritizing civics. And we got away from how do we prepare people to be functional adults in American society to how do we prepare them to be consumers and producers.
And test takers.
Which is consumers and producers, because I need you to be like, because testing is how we measure your worth.
Yep.
And so we can't afford as a school to do anything that we can't align with also testing, because then we're losing funding or then we don't have enough time. And then teaching you civics and how to run a household and home economics and all that kind of stuff, that will prepare you to be in the world and to be self-sufficient and to be, you know, and to build community. But I can't test that.
Right.
And I can't get money off of that from testing.
Right. I love the way that you outlined that, because you gave me some insights that I didn't even think about. And that's the kind of history and context that I think is really, really important. And so thank you. Let me just say that. Thank you for being the one that's like, yeah, I'm going to close that gap.
Yeah.
On your show and your experience, what is the thing that I dare say has been most surprising, or the thing that keeps coming up, particularly amongst voting age people, right? What is the thing that you see as consistent that people just don't know that you wish more people would know? What would be that thing?
The one thing I would know is that, which is something I preach on the show all the time, is that you have more sway and more impact locally. It's more of a direct democracy than you do on the federal level. Yet, all of our investment is to get you to vote every 4 years or in federal elections, rather in the places where you have greater impact and greater voice, which is on the local level. So it's mismatched.
Okay.
Right. You see all of the ads, you see all of the campaigns for the presidential election, like do your duty, vote, and blah, blah, blah. Everything is focused on presidential elections, has greater intention, therefore greater turnout.
Right.
Whereas on the state and local level, where it is it's not a representative. Like literally people are winning elections with 2 votes, 700 votes, 70 votes, right? Like on that level. Or people are making decisions on school boards and community boards, things that impact you.
Hold on, y'all.
At that local level.
Did we freeze? I think we froze. Am I frozen? Kevin and Aaron, am I frozen, or is it just Joy frozen?
You're frozen.
Give me
Joy
an audible cue so I can know how we doing.
You're back.
Okay. I froze?
Yes, you froze.
Yes, you froze.
Oh,
Yes.
I'm over here talking like Kevin and Aaron. Is it me or is it her? Y'all, I don't know. Sorry. But go back to the
mismatched in that. I think we're mismatched in that era, that we should be focusing more on state and local engagement. And quite often, a lot of the stuff that we're then trying to beat back, whether it's issue oriented or others, come from local fights, come from people trying to push those things locally or pushing them locally, meaning on the state level, everything from, book bans to issues against queer or LGBTQ folks or access to contraceptives. All of those things are happening locally. They're happening on the local level. And so that is where we need to engage more.
And let's break it down even further. When you say engage more, specifically, what can someone do, be it Suffolk, Virginia, Detroit, Michigan? Like, what does that look like very specifically in local areas, local cities?
So that is putting your head up where you live. Because what happens is you live somewhere. And for a lot of people, I live here, I work in this place, I do whatever. And you may complain about local things happening or things like that, but you are not engaged, meaning, oh, there's a community meeting to talk about that development that's around the corner. You saw the flyer up, but you didn't go.
You didn't go, right?
There was a open community period to talk about what do you want to see at the park? What do we need people to run for positions on the community school board and things of that nature? Oh, but that ain't me. Right? Like that's everybody else. Or you live in townships or other things where people are voting on how your tax dollars are being used in your community. And you don't know, why don't I have sidewalks? Why don't we have, trash pickup, like any of those kinds of things, right? Civic engagement is not just doing service projects and voting every 4 years. Civic engagement is being a participant in your own governance. And that is in all levels of governance. What we have decided to do collectively is I vote every 4 years, I do this or whatever, but I let somebody else handle the day-to-day operations. And then, I get to set it and forget it, basically.
But Eljoy, let me ask you this, because who knew that we were already, at this time mark? But I really got to ask, I am sure that some people will say, that is not the little things that you're saying, to go to the PTA meeting, to go to the whatever local meeting. Some people, I am sure, believe that is too small of a thing, because when they think about what's happening in the world and with Trump and all of this fuckery, that they're like, it can't possibly matter that I go to the PTA meeting. It can't possibly matter that I should, go to the city council meeting or whatever, because when they watch the news or whatever, everything seems so grand that it's overwhelming. And then, this whole thing that makes me sick to my stomach, we're going to sit this one out. We did our part. We voted. You know what I mean? So how would you address this, that, these little things don't matter?
Because those little things are what are part of the system. So your ability to be engaged and vote on small judicial races for judges on the state level means that you have a voice in who the judges are that sit and decide the cases that are brought up as legal challenges to what the federal government or what a state government may be doing that is illegal or against the Constitution. The reason why, it's interesting that the administration is talking about, we're going to return education to the states. Well, education is already state-led. What happens and what is taught in your children's classroom is not done by the federal government. That is done by the state. And so not having a voice there when you're complaining about what your children are learning or not learning or the resources available in their school, that is a state level decision. So the reason why, I'll give you another example, the reason why people could say, oh, well, you live in New York, and so a lot of the stuff that's happening on the federal level, you're going to be protected from because, you seemingly have a more progressive governor and people are, are going to push back and things like that, because those are local and state elections. To be like that, you decide that you want people, to be able to run the government in a different way. That you like when you step outside of your house, and sometimes some of the things that are regulated in your house,
Right.
It is a state and local decision that those things are done.
Right. I think
so. Those little things add up. And let me say another thing, because somebody is also going to say, April, well, I don't have time to do all of that. Well, you got to pick something. I'm not asking you to be me and be at every meeting and every, and engage and involved in all the kind of stuff. I'm saying that if someone says, oh, we're doing this petition because we want to change the funding model for schools of education, sign it, because it takes you 2 minutes to do it when you come out of the grocery store.
right.
I'm saying that if you care about and you're making all of the complaints about the development that's going up and it's not, diverse enough, the staff that is there, or we want to stop it altogether because it's raining down toxins in the community, and the community organizers or folks are asking you to show up, to show power that people care about this, you show up.
Right. Right.
And if you have the time because you're retired, and there are people who say, oh, I'm retired, I don't need to be on school board. Yes, you do. And you have the time to do it now.
Right.
Like, so you pick a thing and you say, and then when people are saying, well, what are you doing? I'm doing this thing, right? This is what I have the time and the capacity to do.
Right.
And being able to do that. But you cannot dismiss it and also say, oh, everybody, everybody crooks, everybody doing whatever, like, because where are you?
Right. Right. On the sidelines, complaining. This is what I wanted to highlight. I knew you were going to bring the context. Oh no, am I frozen again? Oh,
no, you're good.
Okay. the history, the context, and I know you would agree, because I want to talk about the new thing that you're doing, or the extension.
Mm-hmm.
That perseverance matters. This is important to say too. When you go to that meeting for the first time, because you're so inspired by L. Joy Williams, and you're like, yo, I got it. I got the clarity. You go to the meeting and them Negroes get on your nerve. Still go. You know what I mean? Somebody's going to get on your nerves. Somebody's going to say something asinine. Somebody, it ain't going to, maybe it won't start on time or whatever, but that's never enough reason to not persevere, because to your point, in that organizing is what we want to get to. So I, just as an organizer myself, I know the importance of persevering and not giving up because you had 1 or 2 bad meetings. Am I right? Or like,
listen, and even in this new position that I have this phrase.
Let's pause. The new position is
so, I've had the pleasure for the last decade or so to be the president of Brooklyn NAACP. Upon the passing of the late great Dr. Hazel Dukes, who for many years was the president of the New York State Conference of the NAACP, I immediately became president. So I am now president of the New York State NAACP, which encompasses all 54 branches across the state. And, everyone asked me, like, how's it going now? How's, what's happening and all that kind of stuff. And, keep in mind, by the way, this is a non-paid position. People think NAACP leaders get paid. Nope, we do not.
Wow.
I've been saying, Negroes be Negroing. It's just the thing that happens. However, I have a thing that I say to myself as a reminder. When folks are being extra, whether it's our own people or, outside or whatever, instead of saying, people to be like, I can't stand Black people. This is what's wrong with us. And, like people do all of that.
Yes.
I love Black people. I just
Yes.
think then it like helps me in my mind. It's like
Yes.
I'm doing this for the love of
Yes.
us collectively, and not for this individual Negro who is in front of my face being like,
That part. That part.
love Black people.
That's the real truth. That's the real truth. And if we say we love us,
Right?
and that which is honorable and that which is freedom
it's
fighting,
fine.
if we say
You know,
we love it, then we
and you have individuals do things that are that like because we're human. And the other thing I say, and I said this recently at an event, I had people dying. I was like, but because I want Black people to be able to experience the full breadth of humanity,
yes.
which means I want us to be excellent. And I want us to be trifling. I want us to be like.
You want us to be trifling, or you can tolerate the trifling.
No.
Thing.
The human condition is anything. Like human beings,
for sure,
are excellent. They're trifling. You know, they're blessed. They're everything. I don't want to restrict us to the point where we can only practice Black excellence.
Right, because that would be impossible, to your point.
And that's impossible to do. We're humans, right? And my grandmother used to say, speaking to someone, she was like, if you're going to be a sinner, be the best sinner you can be. Like, don't be half-assed.
Yes, Grandma. Yes, Grandma.
It's like, you going to go and bank rob, be the best bank robber you could be. Don't be out here half-assing, because why? So that's what I want for our people. I want our people to be able to experience their full humanity and being an individual. I want us to be like, you know, that Charles, and not have to be, and now Charles is on the news and it's just like, and this is why Black people can't have that. I'm like, how did Charles become the representation of all of us? He out there like
acting a fool.
Acting a fool, because that doesn't happen with other communities. Like, you know, like it's not like they become the individual, you know, in their thing. It's just like that person did that. That's what I want for us. I want us to get to a level where we don't have to like quickly rally and do or whatever.
Hold on.
So I say, you know, I
don't know if you all can see me or not.
We're good, April. We can still hear.
Are you back? Oh,
yep.
There we are.
So, you know, I love Black people, and I do this so that we can eventually get to the point where we are able and free to experience our full humanity. And that is what I'm advocating for.
I love it. And I'm so glad we tapped.
When people get on I love Black people.
Yes, that's
when
it.
Go to the meeting and they being extra, it's a reminder of what you are there for. You are not there to get along with everybody and to be the friend or whatever. It's like, nope, I'm here because I love Black people and I want us to remain free. That is what I'm here for, right? You can use that same template. I'm here at the school board meeting, not because I want to kiki with everybody, but I'm here because I love Black children and I want to make sure that they have all of the resources that they need in order to thrive and have, you know, a great public education. You know, in every space. I'm here at the, you know, community meeting on environmental protection because I want us to be able to breathe clean air. And, you know, that like I am this. So you repeat that same thing when you go in the spaces, even when folks act up, because it's, you know, a human trait. Somebody gonna act up.
Somebody gonna act up, get on your nerves. Yep. And it's gonna start late. Well, may it not start late, but Joy, this has been amazing. I want to check in with my producer. Do we have a question or two? Sorry for having frozen. Blaming on the internet in the state of Georgia. But before you go, there's a question.
Okay.
Does civic engagement equate to participation in the local and community government or interjecting directly? If it is interjecting, how does that look like how does that look in real life?
Yes, it does. Civic engagement is your participation in any form of governance. It is not just picking up trash at the park and doing a service project or whatever. It is, and the reason I say this is because if it is left to just doing service projects, it is taking the power away from your voice and your participation. Civic engagement is your voice and participation, your active voice and participation in your own governance.
Nice.
And so reducing it to just voting, reducing it to, things like MLK Day service projects where you're going to paint a mural, there is no power in that.
Say that.
No power in the Black Lives Matter painting on the street. There is no power in that. The power is in you being able to help direct where your public dollars go and in investments in schools, or in infrastructure and things like that.
But let me ask you this part. Can one argue that there is power in that visual representation, but maybe not the fullest expression of power as compared to participating in local government? Because I would imagine, for example, and I really do think you would agree, that there's a certain kind of, I don't know the right word, but there's some value, right? And being able to see, be it Rosa Parks or Assata Shakur on the side of a mural. You know what I mean?
We can argue that.
There's value in it because we can see ourselves, but I'm not taking away, not for 1 second, your point about the power being involved in local government. You understand what I'm saying? Like it seems like we could do both, but one of them is a little maybe one-dimensional and emotional and aesthetic, and the other one has more to do with more practical things in our homes. Does that make sense at all?
I think we can argue it. I think it is a worthy discussion and argument. But I also I have a whole lecture and speech about our political maturity, and that there was a point where representation and political representation mattered the most, right? And that was because the people that we were, the people and the decisions that we were looking to represent us at the time also had the core value of loving Black people and wanting to do something that really changed our conditions. But at a certain point, which is where we are now, where we are maturing politically, where representation, visual representation and everything is great, still important, but that needs to come from us and not, what's the word I'm looking for? Not be the sum of what engagement is.
It's not all because it's not engagement, right? It's the visual representation. I would agree. But I think our hierarchy, maybe that's what we're looking for. Our hierarchy and where we place the most, grunt work, maybe that needs to shift a little. I wish you got to come back. That's just, you already know. You already know. Because this was important. We have a whole nother guest. Waiting in the wings. We're gonna look up that
because I wanted to. I'm gonna still have the stream on while I go upstairs and get my salmon together for the cousin hangout. Yes. Because I love the festival. There's certain things culturally in our community as we talk about symbolism, right? And like your next guest, in talking about the things that come from our community that are culturally ours, that sort of set standards and set time for us, right? There are certain things, for instance, you've been in Brooklynites or whatever. We know when the beginning of summer is in Brooklyn by what? Bam.
Right. Well, no. But actually, let me say, we now say by Dance Africa. Happens to be at BAM.
BAM, that's true. We say, like Dance Africa is the beginning of summer in Brooklyn. That is a cultural, piece, that is also where you see everybody comes. Half the time you don't need nothing, you don't want to eat nothing and nothing. But that is the beginning of summer, and that's where you can see who's still together from last summer, who had a baby, who's having a baby.
That part.
Like whatever. Oh, look, she looked good. She did a whole workout. Like that is the unveiling.
Yes.
Of the season is
right.
Dance Africa.
And if you didn't know that, and you live in Brooklyn, and because you knew the Brooklyn, now you know. What'd you say? What'd you say?
You ain't from here if you don't know that.
Right. You didn't know that. And real talk, as someone who was with Festival for decades myself, I'm no longer officially with the organization, but that was our official kickoff. Yep. We knew that all of our street teams from the festival had to go to Dance Africa to pass out flyers to tell people what to do July 4th weekend.
And that's what I was getting to next, because then for the festival, for the days, I always assumed that the days of the festival were like that. Was it like it was? Because from a family standpoint, you got to figure out, okay, this is the day we have our barbecue so that I can go to the festival on this day, right? Like it needed to be, it can't be on one day because right. Like you got to negotiate like, barbecues and stoop hangouts and all that kind of stuff, right?
Exactly.
So here I'm like, okay. So between Dance Africa and the festival is how I get all of my accoutrements for the rest of the,
for the rest of the year.
Right. So this is where I get my shea butter. They got new earrings? I need some new Ankara fabric for my head. Right. Like all of that other kind of stuff. Right.
That's real.
So you do that between Dance Africa and the festival, and then you good until next year.
That's real.
And so for the festival, I'm usually like, okay, the festival is this day and this day. All right, what's the weather situation? Okay, this is the best day. So then this is the day we're going to invite everybody over for the barbecue. Then Sunday we can go to the festival like afterwards. And then that'll be good anyway, because it's it's this day. So then all the prices will come down a little bit because we also African at heart. And you got to negotiate. So I know that's at $18, but I got 10. What we doing?
Right. And they'll be like, okay. For real, this is why I love you. This is why I love you, because you did a better job of setting up the next guest than I would have done. You brought in all of the history, and sorry, if you feeling this love between L-Joy and I, and you not in New York for July, you should start now to make your way to Brooklyn, because we capital W are what makes Brooklyn so hot. So L-Joy, man, I thank you so much. We will be reaching out to you in June to get on. Shout out to June Moses, to get you back on, because there's so much coming up. It's so much coming up, and you are a delight. You are the joy, and we thank you for your sacrifice, taking care of your children, your family. Like, I just love you with my full heart. And I thank you for the encouragement, letting me know that I wasn't doing horrible. So
you got this.
Thank you. Any parting words before you got to go? You good? What website did we need people to?
Oh, because June will cuss me out if I haven't done all of my prep work. Okay, so make sure to tune into Sunday Civics. You can tune into Sunday Civics if you have SiriusXM. The satellite radio is channel 126, and that is every Sunday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern. And if you don't have Sirius, that's cool. We are all on all of the podcast platforms where you can subscribe to the show and listen to the show in that way. And then you can keep up with all of my shenanigans, because I have lots of things going on at ljoywilliams.com. And you can see where I'm speaking. You can invite me to speak. I need to put a thing on there also, so you can invite me to your barbecues and your stoop hangouts. June, we need to, if you're watching this, let's do a little icon to invite, because I like to eat and things like that.
But let me say this. Our resource page for Ascending, which is almost done. I've been saying that for a couple of weeks. I saw the preview. All the things that you just said is going to be on our resource page, on a page dedicated to you. Every guest is going to have their own page with all of those links, and we will be pushing that page. I think Scott is almost done, but yes, and we're going to put it in the comments.
Yes, and the barbecues. Only if you can burn though. Like if you can't really cook, don't invite me. All right. Well, thank you.
I'll bring the salad. I'll bring the salad.
Bye.
Thank you, my dear. Thank you, my dear. So, family, all righty. We are going into a different we need to take that banner down. I'm gonna put this one up. So we're gonna say again, thank you to everybody. We got like a couple more minutes, y'all. Don't go nowhere. So shout out to everybody that stayed the full time. That was L. Joy Williams, who's the new president of the NAACP New York State Conference, as all 54 chapters in New York. That was an amazing episode. We will have her back. But as promised, I want to, in a quick moment, bring to the stage Dr. SEGUN SHABAKA. You heard us just giggling like children about how much we love the International African Arts Festival. Some people say the festival. Some people remember it when it was at Boys and Girls High School and it was the African Street Festival. But now, 54 years later, this institution is still thriving. And we are bringing to the stage right now Dr. SEGUN SHABAKA, who is the board chair of the International African Arts Festival. So good to see you, sir. That was a good segue, would you say?
Yes, it was.
Let's get his title up there.
Yes.
Because that's how that love is like real and it's deep rooted. And there's a couple of generations of people who just don't know life without the festival, not just on July 4th weekend, but just in general with the year-round programming. So I thank you for coming on. I wanted you to come on to talk about like what's coming up. Like there's some announcements that's going on, right?
Yes. Well, we still in the flow. There's a lot of things happening, a lot of challenges. We were not sure where we were going to be this July because they are renovating the park. But there's another challenge in that the commissioner has told us that there is no park for us in Brooklyn. So that's not something we're really accepting. And we want people to know that and to push back. And you can find information on our website about that. But we still, this year, they postponed the renovations. And so we will be at Commodore Barry Park for the 3 days we had planned to do festival this year. That's July 4th, 5th, and 6th, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And we
and
also
that's Commodore Barry Park, downtown Brooklyn, right?
And the Navy Yard area.
Yes.
Okay.
And the festival has been there since
2002 or 2003.
Yeah, so
23 years.
Right. I know some of the audience remembers in the golden era, I guess you could say, at Boys and Girls High School. But let me get it right. The New York City Department of Parks is telling the organization that no park is available for the festival for 2026. And this is supposed to be the last year at Commodore Barry Park? Am I hearing you correctly?
That's correct. That's what it is. That's the challenge. So we are, we're fighting that. We think that we deserve to be in Brooklyn, Central Brooklyn, like that. We've made some requests, some offers, and we mounting our campaign and getting our support to stay in Central Brooklyn. We don't want to be in the outskirts of Brooklyn, neighborhoods that don't know us, that will probably give us a hard time, around parking and noise and things like that. And so we'll look at those venues, but we want Central Brooklyn. That's for 54 years.
So talk to us a little bit, and I think it deserves to stay in its home, right, which is Central Brooklyn. Can you give those who are not New Yorkers, who are not from Brooklyn, who are watching from all over the world, what is the phenomenon that is festival? Why would this organization for the past 54 years. Why is it important to people of African ancestry, whether they're in Brooklyn or not?
Well, we are the oldest celebration, multi-day, Pan-African celebration in the country and arguably the world. Uh, we have been celebrating not just African American culture, not just Caribbean American culture, but African culture, uh, African people, African descendants, and African diaspora culture for 55 years. From the first festival, that's how we've conducted our event. And so it's very important that we celebrate ourselves, that we uh, bring people together in unity. And that speaks to itself, April, in the fact that for 54 years, we brought these different communities together without incident. Okay, there's no major police record of any incident taking place. And if you know Central Brooklyn, you know there's some rough neighborhoods in Central Brooklyn, and we've been in a few of them. In fact, the one we're in right now is surrounded by 3 public housing developments. Okay, and so we have been on this cutting edge of celebrating African culture from our inception, and we haven't veered from it. We've had some of the major artists, whether you talk about Shadow, Sparrow, Pharaoh, Thondiswa, the power, one of the powers of the festival for me is the fact that last 10 years or so, we always have African dance troupe, but we close out and have closed out with an African dance troupe every night. And it's never anticlimactic. That says something about the power of African culture and the artistry that's presented at festival. And if you think about it, these dance troupes may be doing numbers and traditional dances that are hundreds, maybe thousands of years old, yet it's never anticlimactic. And so this power of the culture is what has been behind the festival
Right.
presentation for decades.
And what I know to be true is that people of African ancestry from every corner of the globe make it their business to come to this event for the
Yes.
past 5 decades. Be they as a vendor, be
Each.
they as a presenter, as a speaker, as a performing artist, from every country on the continent of Africa and every country within the Caribbean, people make it their business to come to this event. And so that's why I think the love is so pure. Would you agree?
Yes, very much so. When you think about the fact that we have, like you said, patrons that come in, fly in from out of the country to be at this event, vendors coming in from all over the world, artisans and artists. Okay,
Yes.
so at every level, it's a Pan-African affair.
Yes. And there's a symposium. So it's not just about the performing arts or being able to get, man, I remember one time when it was at Boys and Girls High School, there was a vendor that the organization had, and this African was selling this well-crafted furniture. Like there was a sofa there, you know what I mean? Like it was a whole spread. And so talk about support of our brothers and sisters across the continent or across the world. Actually, this is the level of caliber, right? The level of high caliber that the organization attracts, and that is true on the vendor side, the artist. But then there's a celebration of Black thought. There's a celebration of Pan-African thought. So can you talk about the symposium as well?
Yes. The symposium is held the Saturday of the festival. Of late, it's held at the school across the street,
The public elementary school across the street from the park.
auditorium, and we bring in thinkers from all over the country and the world. It's hosted, co-sponsored by NACO, the National Association of Kawaida Organizations. Dr. Maulana Karenga is our national chair. And until late, he was in, and he would chair the symposium. But we've had scholars like Theophile Obenga at the symposium. People don't know. If you heard of Diop, you should know Theophile Obenga. He was Diop's colleague that argued around the African origin of Egypt. Okay, he was a linguist, and he was my professor at Temple also. So we have Dr. Malefia Sante, we have Dr. LaFrancis Rogers Road, Joy,
who just passed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, Dr. Rose just passed. We have had so many of the major thinkers.
Dr. Jamila Codrington as well, from the psychologist.
Yes.
I met her first through one of the symposiums. Yes.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. So the symposium is probably one of the best kept secrets of the festival.
Not anymore.
That's good. That's good to know. But yes. So the symposium. What we discussed was that you have all of these Black people coming together. So there has to be some serious thought and discussions going on among them. Okay. And so that was the idea. And the symposium is probably between 35, 40 years old. It started at Boys and Girls. And
Boys and Girls High School, for those who don't know.
Yes. In fact, you talked about year-round programming. We just did a film last Saturday on Dr. Frank Mickens, a documentary on him by some of his students produced it. It's a powerful, beautiful honor to him. And so these are the kind of year-round programs that the festival hold, discussion forums and co-sponsored events around Kwanzaa with the creator, Dr. Karenga. So we do year-round programming. We're not just a 4 or 5 day event that happens in July. And you can go to our website and you can see the different events that we do and keep up with them and follow them. So, multifaceted organization. We come out of the Black Power organization of the East Coast, the East. And the festival started as a school closing program as well as a fundraiser. And while we lose institutions for various reasons, we still have the festival and we still believe in that mission of the organization, the East.
Yes, I think that we got to have you come back. As a matter of fact, I know you're scheduled to come back as we get closer to the July events. The dates are July 4th, 5th, and 6th. Yeah,
correct. Yes.
4th, 5th, and 6th in Brooklyn. We will have you back, maybe with one of the artists who will be performing. I know the lineup will be secured there, but everybody sees the website. You are the organization is also on Facebook. Same tag. The organization is on Instagram as well. So everybody, tell your people the festival is coming back to Brooklyn at Commodore Barry Park. And so wherever you are in the world, you will probably find someone from your neighborhood at the festival. Like, that's how the organization gets down. It is a magnet for Pan-African lovers of Pan-African history and culture and thought and expressions. And SEGUN, it's been a pleasure. We know that we'll see you back as we get closer. Yeah.
Can I say one thing quickly? For those people that are coming in from out of town, they can be in touch with us, and whatever discount we get at the hotels, we're researching the discounted hotels now, and we pass that on. We don't mark it up or anything. So with the best rate, and we'll get the discount because we have several rooms that we'll book, and we just pass that on to the vendors, the artists, the patrons, whoever wants to get a room and stay.
I love it.
Nights.
I love it. And on that website, let's put the website up just one more time. The website, the email address is on the website. The telephone number. Somebody will be monitoring the DMs on your social media platform. So everybody, if you have a question, we got a strong people still in the chat. But Dr. Shabaka or somebody from the festival will be back as we get closer. But make bookmark that website, iaafestival.org. It is my honor and pleasure to have been of service to the organization. And this is you all make us look good, as a community, and the honorable work upon which this foundation was started in 1971. So thank you.
Thank you for being a part of it for quite a few decades now. Your
Yes.
support and help.
Yes, it's been my honor. I don't even know how else not to. You know what I mean? So on that note, we will see you probably in a couple of weeks. And so everybody, you all know I always say that I don't do the comments, right? But we are here for the comments today. Before we log off, I am going to go into the comments because I want to see. Did I say this already? Did I say that Jenny Silver is not my mother? There's a Jenny Silver that shows up every week, and I'm looking in the comments, and my mother is Jenny B. Silver, but the one that shows up in these comments is not my mother. Oh, my sister is here. Hey, Lex. Let's see. I'm scrolling. Somebody said, oh, their name is negative. Okay. That's my Alexis Taylor. That's my sister. Hey. And I saw June in the comments. I'm going in here and I see Chuck. Well, he's listed as Charles Webb. So I just want to shout out Chuck Webb. Thank you, Chuck, for watching. I want to see, I see June is here. Rolando, I see you always on the case. I want to shout out to team Marc Lamont Hill official, an amazing team. Oh, wait. Duh. I'm going to be on night school, family. This coming Thursday, April 3rd, I'm going to be on night school. I've been bugging Marc about it because he said, no, we got to have you on. And there's some loyal folks in night school who I love and who have been showing up. And it's like, when is April coming to night school? So we have a date. This Thursday, I will be on night school, 10 o'clock. Is that right? I think it's 10 o'clock. I'm still looking in the comments. Everybody, I'm so grateful that you all have been here. Tell your people. We are thousands of people watching live. I'm just trying to see if there's anybody I need to extra shout out. I think I see my former assistant. I'm not going to say the name, but Team April R. Silver is definitely in the house. I love it. Shout out to Lauren. Where is Bullet the Bunny? She didn't show up today, but she's always showing up. So she's always here. So anyway, I just wanted to check in the comments, but we got some of your questions. We're going to do more of that. But in the meantime, every Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern, I am here. All of the episodes are on the Ascending playlist on the Marc Lamont Hill official channel. So check out those amazing episodes. They have been enriching. When I have the worst days, I look forward to Saturday to being with you all. It's just absolutely amazing. The resource page is going to be on AquilaWorksongs.com. That is coming up. I know I've been saying it, but the educator in me won't sleep well until all of those links that you hear in the show, all of the people's names that we reference, they're going to be housed in one place. It's coming together really nicely. It's very specialized. So shout out to Scott, my webmaster, for decades. So AquilaWorksongs.com is where you should go. I am everywhere on social media as April R. Silver. So on that note, family, thank you so much with my whole heart. I say I will see you next. Oh, who do we have next Saturday? It's Stacy Billups, the artist. I'm going to be at a different location, and we're going to talk about why Stacy Billups, the visual artist and the educator, is really important to this community. So tell your people, Subscribe to the channel. Thank you, everybody. And we will see you next Saturday. And in between, follow me everywhere, April R. Silver. And in the meantime, stay up.